Welcome back to Tracking the Tropics, everyone. Taking a look at an area of interest about 20 miles off the coast of Florida, which has about a 30% chance of developing within the next 2 or so days. The National Hurricane Center says that there is no need to worry, though, and we know a lot of you are still recovering from Hurricane Isaac, which made landfall a couple of weeks ago at Panama City, bringing destruction to the coastline and major flooding. But you folks don't need to worry about this invest, as rainfall and associated flood risks are quite minimal, as stated by the NHC. Taking a greater look, though, at the rest of the Atlantic, we have 2 additional areas which need to be watched as of now, with the more concerning story developing in the main development region, where an area of interest has about an 80% chance of developing within the next 7 days, as stated by the National Hurricane Center. And you're probably not all too surprised by this, but the real cause of concern is that this system is indeed making its way towards the United States, where models are mainly depicting it taking a northerly or southerly track. This is well reflected by what we like to call the spaghetti plot, where it shows the track of the system by many models, and we can average it out to predict where the system is heading. But why should we be so concerned? Well, as many of you know, the water in the Gulf into across the Atlantic are at record-breaking temperatures, being the hottest we've ever documented. And no matter which way this system goes, it takes itself into very warm waters where it has the chance of becoming a hurricane, perhaps even a major one at that.
The largest evacuation of the Leeward Islands ever documented currently underway, as Milton is already forecasted by the National Hurricane Center to reach winds of 150 miles per hour. Thousands making their way out of the islands already today, with many more leaving in the coming days. Milton, currently a tropical storm, is forecast to rapidly intensify into a major Category 4 hurricane, bringing destructive winds and storm surge tall enough to cover a 2-story structure. Rip currents have already been observed after 2 were killed off the coast of Suriname, which goes to show that the impact this storm has extends well beyond just the clouds you can see.
Checking up on Milton here, and I mean, wow, just wow. Over the last couple days, Milton rapidly intensified into a 150 mile per hour Category 4 hurricane. And you can see on the radar here, Milton looks extremely healthy with a very pronounced eye wall. As he makes his way west, the final evacuations of Barbados and adjacent islands are happening. And as far as I know, the human impact should remain pretty low. And as we look towards the future, we see the National Hurricane Center is very confident with Milton reaching Category 5 status, with peak winds of 175 miles per hour just west of the Leeward Islands. And I mean, this makes complete sense. With the record-breaking water temperatures, pulling up the ocean heat content map here, we can see stacked on those temperatures is pretty much maxed out OHC. I have basically no doubt that Milton will be the strongest storm of the season with a forecast like that out. And I mean, some of these spaghetti plots have a potential northern Florida impact associated with them. Just saying that makes my skin crawl. The Gulf is unimpeded rocket fuel, and any impact to our viewing area would be disgustingly bad. Hurricane Isaac did not even leave a dent in the sea surface temperatures, and the intensification ceiling would be extremely high. And getting a broader view of the Atlantic, we do come to find that a few more invests exist out there, with 1 in the far North Atlantic and 2 monsoonal troughs coming off of Africa. Definitely going to be a few systems to watch over the next couple of weeks.
The Prime Minister of Jamaica ushering in hundreds of last-minute evacuations as Category 5 Hurricane Milton approaches the island with extreme ferocity. Thousands of homes were completely destroyed by storm surge and 175 mile per hour winds as the strongest portion of Milton laid waste to the island of Martinique. Milton's eye threaded the needle between Martinique and St. Lucia, which gave neither of them any time to breathe. Lech to me says that hundreds could be dead on the island, and it could be Martinique's worst disaster documented in modern times. Miguel Diaz-Canel has yet to make a comment on the approach of Milton after the National Hurricane Center placed many of Cuba's western provinces under hurricane warnings earlier today. Additionally, reports of many people trapped under collapsed structures after tropical storm force winds battered southwest portions of Haiti. A grim reminder that the impact of storms falls well beyond the forecast cones issued by the NHC, and that you should take the proper actions to protect your life and property, even if you're not in the cone, as the cone serves as an area of uncertainty in Milton's center, or eye.
Tropical storm watch in effect for the following areas: in Florida, Escambia, Bocalusa, and Santa Rosa, and the following areas in Alabama, Baldwin and Mobile.
Little bit of a late start here after some technical difficulties, but we're back to tracking Milton as it's on pace to enter the Gulf within the next couple of days here. I have to say this now, and I will keep saying it. Prepare for Milton right now. Waiting until last minute to prepare to evacuate could cost you your life as thousands of others flee the area, and traffic jams will back up interstates likely for days. If you suspect your life may be in danger from Milton, you need to go now. And just taking a look at the most recent satellite imagery, Milton deviated much further east than what was originally anticipated, which is emphasizing that even if you're not in the cone, you need to prepare properly for at least tropical storm force winds. Milton is currently a high-end Category 3 hurricane with winds of 125 miles per hour, and as it enters the Gulf, it is forecasted to interact with some shear, which should take the intensity ceiling down. However, this doesn't mean you should let your guard down. Remember how Hurricane Isaac was only a Category 3 and took power out for weeks and left many areas uninhabitable? This is just not really a storm you want to mess around with. And just looking at this model run shows that we're nearly guaranteed at least some form of impact from Milton. Thankfully, this model run intensity-wise is pretty tame, and we won't receive as dire of an impact as some areas like Jamaica and Martinique got from Milton. And now, of course, we do have long-term forecasts for our area, with several regions expected to receive at least 60-mile-per-hour sustained winds. And coinciding with this is tropical storm and hurricane watches issued by the National Hurricane Center. Alongside this, we have storm surge forecasts as well, where it's shown that some areas such as Mobile Bay could receive surge as high as 10 feet, definitely nothing to play with. And last but not least, we can grasp the total scope of rainfall impacts across pretty much all of our viewing area, with some spots receiving more than 10 inches of rain with Milton. While this could be less impactful, areas devastated by Isaac and his associated rainfall will be receiving even more rain with Milton, but that's all we really have. Stay weather aware with us here as we brace for Milton.
Here we are back again, tracking Milton as it gets closer to landfall in the mainland United States after very significant impacts to Jamaica, Martinique, Cuba, and now the Florida Keys after it de-intensified whilst crossing over western Cuba. A couple tornado watches also existing as rain bands enter southwestern Florida, but that isn't the main story as of now. Milton is just a few days from landfall here, and all I can say is now is the time to evacuate and prepare for hurricane force winds as the National Hurricane Center predicts that Milton will be a low-end Category 4 hurricane carrying destructive winds up to 130 miles per hour and potentially deadly storm surge along with it. Some new warnings here issued by the National Hurricane Center. A hurricane warning is now in effect for the western Florida panhandle off towards the Alabama-Mississippi state line and extending pretty far northward as well. Tropical storm warnings also now in effect for parts of Georgia and Mississippi, surrounded by tropical storm watches as well. And not only that, we have day 3 forecasts from the Storm Prediction Center and the Weather Prediction Center. The Storm Prediction Center coming up with a slight risk of severe thunderstorms as Hurricane Milton's rain bands come ashore, carrying a heightened risk of tornadoes. Adjacent to the Storm Prediction Center forecast, the Weather Prediction Center has put out a day 3 moderate risk for excessive rainfall, which covers essentially our entire viewing area. We also have new rainfall totals. And as you can see here, 20 or more inches of rainfall. That is absolutely ridiculous. 1.5 feet of rain stacked on whatever storm surge this beast brings is certainly enough to completely cover any coastal homes. If this isn't your sign to evacuate, you're putting yourself at risk of becoming a fatality. So I cannot stress enough that you need to get the heck out of Dodge with this one.
Hey, it's me, Jason. I'm not exactly too sure how I'm going to get out of this anymore. Milton is, well, for lack of a better term, he's here. We've got all of our windows boarded up, but I was watching the news before the power went out. They said Milton underwent the most historical, rapid intensification ever documented. I mean, 120 to 160 miles per hour within 6 hours. I don't think I'm going to survive this. I figured, you know, I'm a little bit far inland, but now I think I'm done for. Most of the windows are boarded up, and I've been hacking away at getting the rest done, but that's really it. I have nothing more to say. I hope you know I love you, and hopefully I make it out of this. If I don't, and they find my body in the floodwaters or something, tell my family I love them, Xavier. And goodbye for now.
Milton has undergone some of the fastest rapid intensification ever documented, folks. About 6 hours ago, Milton was a Category 3 hurricane with winds up to 120 miles per hour. This radar image was literally only 3 hours ago, and the previous Hurricane Hunter's flight found peak winds of 160 miles per hour, bringing Milton up to Category 5 status. A new flight went in, and we're still pending information from the Hurricane Hunters as they went offline about an hour ago as they were getting out of the northwestern eye wall. That Milton is actually still intensifying at this point as dry and hot air has clearly been intruding into the eye as it contracts. Take a look at this. This satellite image was 3 hours ago, and here's it now. That is just a stupid amount of change there.
Hey, we actually did just get the information back from the Hurricane Hunters, and I'm about to get it up here.
All right, stand by with us here. Okay, it should be up there now. You've got to be kidding me. Look at that. The Hurricane Hunters have found that Hurricane Milton is up to an astounding 172 miles per hour. Oh, Lord, folks, we're praying for you here at the studio if you ended up staying, because that is going to be unsurvivable. 172 miles per hour, sustained winds will literally destroy your house. If you're not in a sturdy, reinforced concrete structure, you will die. These winds are just offshore the Florida coast, and major Category 4 winds are already battering the heck out of the coastline.
The National Weather Service in Mobile has issued an extreme wind warning for Escambia County in western Florida, Okaloosa County in western Florida, until 9:45 p.m. Central Daylight Time. At 6:32 p.m. Central Daylight Time, NOAA hurricane reconnaissance aircraft and maritime observations indicated extreme winds associated with the eye wall of Hurricane Milton will move onshore portions of the western Florida panhandle. This is an extremely dangerous and life-threatening situation. Locations impacted include Pensacola, Gulf Breeze, Navarre, Fort Walton Beach, Destin, Miramar Beach, Santa Rosa Beach, Neathville, Crestview, Milligan, Holt, Harold, Milton, Baghdad, Pace, Gonzales, Inslee, Bellevue, Warrington, and Cottage Hill. Widespread destructive winds of 130 to 175 miles per hour will spread across Escambia and Okaloosa counties, producing devastating swaths of tornado-like damage. Take cover now. Treat these imminent extreme winds as if a tornado was approaching, and move immediately to the safe room in your shelter. Take action now to protect your life. The safest place to be during a major landfalling hurricane is in a reinforced interior room away from windows. Get under a table or other piece of sturdy furniture. Use mattresses, blankets, or pillows to cover your head and body. Remain in place through the passage of these life-threatening conditions.
I'm not too confident he can hear us right now.
We haven't been able to contact any one of our anchors out on the field today. Supposedly, even the Weather Channel cannot get in contact with Jim Cantori and the team they have on the ground right now. I'm sure they're fine, but the power grids have completely failed in the West Florida Panhandle here, and we have no idea what the extent of the damage is like. The last few hours have likely been daunting for any personnel working in these cities that have been impacted by this historical landfall. All we can do is pray for them. And just looping back the past few hours here, we can see the devastating landfall which just occurred with Milton. And I'm not even sure I have words to describe how bad this is. Milton is still continuing its trek through the Panhandle and is still packing Category 3 to 4 winds as it moves up into southeastern Alabama, where it's likely to cause extreme agricultural and structural damage. There are just a lot of mobile home parks in these areas, and I would hate to see if people didn't evacuate.